Okay, greetings everyone. It is time to talk a little bit about more. Now, I've delayed this over the last few days doing this video, mostly just because I've just been kind of watching. I've been taking a bit of time and just observing and seeing what I can see, how the unit is doing with different compositions that because it's cooled a little bit on the obvious all spear, but all spear is still looking probably the best. But like taking a look at Wind, taking a look at like Mono Wind, taking a look at this character with like Fly Glassy, it's apparent at this point that Moore is just a really strong unit. So I don't feel too terribly nervous about recommending her and saying, yeah, she's probably going to be worth the resources and good for a good amount of time. At least, you know, pending, always just a little bit pending. Because who knows what's going to come. They could say, hey, it's the half anniversary. We're introducing another status effect. We're introducing zombie or something like that. And that could turn the game on its head. It's only as solid as our foresight. And when it comes to this game's foresight right now, well, I mean, there's always, it feels like we've been in a general steady pace of stronger and stronger units. But as far as a unit coming along and looking pretty damn decent, yeah, more is essentially there. Big problem still on evasion-based teams. Evasion teams seem to be her big weakness. However, if you just paired up certain party members or really heavy focused on evasion, you'd probably be okay, because the matchup isn't like clear cut and dry like 3-0 always, like it was looking at the start of Moore's last week. So, getting into it, I mean, this proof of concept isn't going to be much of a proof of concept because we already know it works. You can go out there and check out, like, I know that a lot of people have been watching Peachin's video. Peachin has been doing a bunch of stuff with Moore, pretty excited about the whole thing. And a bunch of other JP players are also pretty excited about it. So let's just take a peek. I mean, really, when we are doing this, the big thing that we want is we just want to try and pulverize her with basically everything that we have access to. And that's, yeah, what we're going to be doing here. So doing our general setups here. And I figured rather than we normally, you know, we a lot of the times we do check the unit outside of actual battle. I figured this time let's do it inside of battle, especially once we've gotten all of these upgrades out of the way. So ignoring certain ones, but not ignoring the big ones, like this one, really nice lot of power in there. And I mean, this unit could be even better if we were just all in a spear team, but my Gilgamesh isn't ready. So yeah, proof of concept, here we go. And proof of concepts, like, I'm particularly kind of fond of them, of this whole testing thing, but at the same time I might be changing them up in the near future to go just a little bit different from how they are now. So stay tuned for those potential changes, but for now, do all of this. I think we're just about ready to go here. And now we can probably start firing off some attacks, but let's take a look at what Moore looks like right now. 58% single target resistance, 12 AoE, of course that could be modified to your heart's content, about 14k HP, 1500 attack, and 113 speed. As for resistances and whatnot, well, almost 80% slashing resistance already, which is crazy good. But let's fire off some attacks. An ice elemental magic attack, for example, you can see that we have a pretty high chance of hitting Frostbite against her, which would be a little bit annoying for her to deal with. And you can see that we are getting some magic damage. Pretty nice looking magic damage in there. Let's see how some other characters, for instance, Sephiroth. Sephiroth only a 20% chance of curse. Basically what I said earlier. However, her ability to spread that curse resistance to other units makes her far more valuable if you're still in, or maybe you're on the I don't like AC Sephiroth, I'm tired of AC Sephiroth, I'm tired of curse. as a status effect, well, then more is just super valuable. But you can see right here that we are getting a good amount of damage resistance. And again, just firing off multiple attacks, Ashen Mont particularly suffering the worst. And, you know, VC support is something that I will touch on a little bit before the end of this. So yeah, you can see that Ashen Mont not doing the worst, both at elemental disadvantage as well as, you know, just disadvantage against single target attacks. And we'll continue to just fire off some extra buffs here. Why not? So it is capable of dealing a good amount of damage, but her healing power up basically kind of means that you do need to counter her with some healing power down. And it doesn't seem like, yes, we're doing that much damage, but of course vision cards as well provide a good amount of support. And here we don't have the highest amount of vision cards focused towards spear. And that's okay. Again, not particularly worried about it because in an appropriate style team, she is pretty good. And we can just get an idea for how much damage reduction it is, because normally when we see these kind of parties, we can see high amounts of damage potentially being dished out by our characters. And then just skipping ahead a little bit until we get back up to more, we'll just fire off a few, try and fire off a few attacks of hers. For instance, her limit burst here, being blocked by most of the barriers, but you can see that sudden or doom status effect, 42% on certain high level tanks, 58% on others, 48% on characters, which is pretty high for a status effect like that. Again, Moore's game is essentially outlasting her opponents. If she can, then that's great. But if not, well, she is capable of dealing some damage. And here we can see a little bit of the confusion status effect, which also we noted that was in her kit. Not quite as reliable as Doom, but if it does go off, fine, we won't complain, sort of thing. And then targeting it on just a few other abilities, you can see that, yeah, she's not particularly that high of a damage dealer and has a hard time getting through barriers. That's where the other characters that you essentially bring in, such as Ramada and Gilgamesh, for the DPS. And she does pretty good DPS in support when they are in time. So yeah, put that on there, and let's just go in and talking about VCs, because I have noticed that there have been some comments about the actual general VCs, so I do want to touch on that. So let me just bring this up, Wotv Calc, really quickly. Now, Wotv Calc lists a bunch of different VCs. Some of the ones I've noticed, To the Life Stream seems to be generally quite important. Believers in the Bonds of Brotherhood, another one that is quite important. Sidekicks do not ditch the hero. And As Told by the Stars. Now, in terms of flexibility of these VCs over potentially some others, I think in general, so long as you have some fairly new holo VCs, if you're going all spears, you're probably okay. Again, like Little Heroes, Big Dreams, that's also probably a good one. Bahamut's Chosen, if you do have it. But there's not really also much of a doubt that there is quite a few VCs that are maybe locked out by limited time content that just might not be so easy to get a hold of anymore. Take, for example, the Full Metal Alchemist, or, well, FF5, once it's gone. Those are going to be ones that are very unlikely to come back to the game unless there's just some some banners that cover a bunch of different VCs around anniversary time, which could be possible, but not super count onable. You could also look at cards such as Ultros for potentially looking in there, since they do deal critical damage and piercing attack up if you're looking for replacements for other DPSs. But that's not just the only story here. Let's also talk about just really quickly Moore's potential alternative partners. Obviously, like, the big goal here, I think, where she is finding the most success from what I'm seeing, the most consistent success, is with pure spear-based teams. Now, looking at the spears that you could potentially go with, well, I mean, yes, Gilgamesh is probably one of the biggest ones because he has actually really good DPS, and Ramada is another one since you could essentially get her at the time of the 5th anniversary, a 120 version, quite easily. Those are two really reliable ones, but if need be, there is potential that you could squeeze in some other ones into that party comp, such as, where is he? Young Old is not a terrible unit. It's definitely fallen out a little bit, but could potentially fit quite nicely into this party at a little bit of, you know, just an older, about a year older unit not being as high efficiency. If you're just looking for pure elemental synergy, I think that this guy's actually generally decent enough to still be run in with more and get a lot of synergy. Particularly if you don't have Gilgamesh or Ramada, then you might just be looking to go pure elemental wind. And then from there, it's just a question of cross with other characters who you might be looking to get curse resistance for. That kind of depends on job BC compatibility. But Mono Wind probably is going to be overall quite decent still, since, you know, Shrekken exists, and, well, Wind Veritas is still good, and the Veritas units are still getting upgrades. That's always a possibility in the future as well. I think there's a lot of avenues for more to be successful outside of the teams that I have specifically mentioned in the past. But for I am still 100% set on that if you want this character, if you're looking for the best for her, then it's probably going to be with Mono Spear, because that seems to be quite good. And how long that'll be quite good for, I don't know. Stay tuned, find out. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Hope you had a great weekend. Later.